Welcome back to another episode of Big Questions, Small Steps. My name is Amanda and I'm glad that you could join me today. So far we've been talking essentially about my journey. We talked about how I grew up in a Christian denomination known as the United Church of Christ, and how I had different experiences that led me to go away from Christianity. And currently I'm on the conversion path towards Judaism. But my last video kind of highlighted and broke down some of the issues I was having with Jesus that solidified my decision to leave Christianity. But to be honest and fair, I also wanted to take a moment to just look at Muhammad and Islam, because my belief is that there is one God and that is the only God. There's nobody that's on the same level of him. So that would be monotheistic. So Christianity, some people view it as monotheistic. I do not. In my experience, that triune, to me, it's not monotheistic. So the other religions that are monotheistic are Judaism, and I've explained that already, and Islam. So Islam believes that there is one true God. So I'm going to kind of break down what my struggles are with Islam in general, but more specifically, Muhammad. Okay, so let's get started. So Islam and the Muslim culture, they view Jesus as the Messiah. So you already know that I struggle with the idea of Jesus as a Messiah. So to me, Islam was off the table when I learned that, because I don't need or want. I don't need or want Jesus. I want to just have a relationship with God. Now, when I learned more about Muhammad, to me, that was just extra evidence, extra information that clarified or solidified that, yes, my decision to not pursue Islam or the Muslim faith was the right choice for me. So I'm just sharing facts and information based on what I've learned, and particularly how I interpreted that and why it was a problem for me. I'm not slighting anyone who is Islamic or practices the Muslim faith. It's just not for me. So Muhammad is viewed as the last and final prophet. And they use a book called the Quran. So in the Quran, they talk about Jesus, and they talk about quite a few of the Hebrew scriptures that we have in Torah. But when they talk about Muhammad, they're talking about him as the last and final, meaning that the end of days was coming soon. Now, I don't know about you, but last I checked, I had a pulse. So I'm still here. That's not the last and final day. Moving on. I have really two main problems with Muhammad. I have a problem with his revelations that he received, and I have a problem with wives and how they treat women, essentially. So let's talk about the revelations first. So Muhammad would receive these revelations or information from God, and he's described as being in these trance-like states. He would start to breathe heavy. He would snort like a camel, some said. Okay, some would say he sweat quite a bit. Some would say he turned red. So all of those different things are rather concerning to me. I have a little bit of medical background, and it doesn't seem right to me. It seems more like somebody who is hallucinating or having some kind of neurological seizure of some sort, some out-of-body experience where it's not connecting. The synapses in the brain aren't firing adequately. It doesn't sound normal. And then to further that further that up or back that up with, when Muhammad would tell about these revelations, he was scared by them. He didn't know if they were coming from God or the devil. And reportedly, he was suicidal at times because he didn't know what was going on. And that's concerning. If I was part of the Islamic or Muslim faith, then Prophet Muhammad is the person that is your leader, you're the person that you're following, in addition to God. But if the person I'm following doesn't know if they're hearing things from God or the devil, I would be questioning whether or not I would want to follow them. Because if they don't know, how do I know? So that's my struggle with his revelations that he's reported. And his revelations were not recorded right at the time. So that could also be lost in translation or misinterpreted or things like that. So that portion I struggle with. I struggle with the idea that they believe Jesus is the Messiah. But my big thing is all about how they treated women. I am like a borderline feminist, you would call it that. I believe people should have equal rights and we all have our different strengths, and I don't like being told no just because I'm a woman. I don't like that. I don't like that. So when I learned that in Islam it's commonplace to have multiple wives, that's not for me. That's not for me. So again, another tick in the nope, not for me box. When I learned that Muhammad himself was marrying multiple wives and that some of the wives were actually children. The one that sticks in my head is he married a child who was 6. 6. I am a teacher of children who are 4 and 5. So it boggles my mind that he would marry somebody who is 6. Now I know it was a different time, and I know customs are different. So marrying someone at a young age maybe was more commonplace. So I can begrudgingly let that part go. But when I learned that same 6-year-old that he married, he consummated the marriage when she was 9. That's not okay. That's just not okay to me. I don't think that the God that I love and loves me would condone, expect, or think that's a good idea for the youngest of his children to get married when they're that young and then to be consummating that relationship with an adult when they're not even 10. They haven't even hit puberty. Just now, puberty levels are starting to decrease. What once was like 13, 14 is now trickling down and is starting to be 9 or 10. Just now. So back in that time period, that wasn't even close. I really struggle with believing that Muhammad should be the person that would lead my soul, lead my life, be the example that I want to follow. When he did that, I don't care for that. And then I just have to look at how they view women in that culture. So when I took my confirmation class, for example, to the Islamic mosque, there were women there, and when the women and men were interacting, if the men and women were in the same space, I should say, the men were the people that spoke. Women did not. And if they spoke directly to their male male counterparts. So whether it's their husband or their father or their brother, like it was just that connection, and then the females were silent again. There was definitely a feeling of hierarchy based on genders, that the males were higher than the females and the females could never take over that leadership role. Again, if that's their choice, that's their choice, but I struggle with the idea of, I'm a teacher by profession. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was a confirmation teacher. I enjoy helping people find their passions and how they can succeed. And I wouldn't be allowed to do that in the Islamic faith. I would have to constantly stifle who I am to make sure that my husband was felt and respected and appeared to be the head of the family in all senses, regardless of if he was doing something that I disagreed with or not, if he was disciplining the child for something that they really didn't do or not. It was not my place as a woman to say anything in that point of view, in that moment, I should say. So I didn't care for that. I don't personally like the idea that they have multiple wives. I don't like the idea that they are forced to wear different clothing, that they are forced to be covered. And it's not their choice typically. If they are married, the male, the husband, can determine what they are to wear, is my understanding. And I don't like that. I love my boyfriend dearly, but to give him complete and total ownership of, I don't care if it makes you feel good, you're going to wear this. You're going to be covered from head to toe, and you can't even look at anyone. It just feels very almost degrading and constrictive, that he wouldn't trust me to be faithful to him, that he, just by me walking down the street in clothing that covers my body and is rather modest in general, that would be too much of a temptation for other males, and that's my problem. It's not that the men should learn how to control themselves, it's my problem. I disagree with that. So I struggle with that. And then from the legal side, if you are married in the Muslim culture and you're Islamic, I should say, you don't have rights as a female. You can't get a divorce if your husband is abusing or mistreating you. Beating women is actually encouraged in many places, so that women know to be subservient and just to follow the male. That's not something that's for me. I wouldn't want to be in an abusive relationship, and I certainly wouldn't want that for my children, to see that, to experience that. I wouldn't want that for them. So for all those reasons, I choose not to follow Muhammad. I choose not to be part of the Islamic or the Muslim cultures and practices. Again, that's just me and my beliefs. It's where I struggle as far as what their beliefs are. They don't match mine. So I checked it out, and that's not the place for me. But I'll keep looking, and I'll keep searching, and I'll keep learning, because learning is the only way that I continue on my path. So thanks so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.